rights of that individual and breach data protection rules. This is a formal town council meeting and will be held just as those in the town hall, using the agenda which the clerk has published. As with our usual meetings, members of the public will be given the opportunity to speak during public open sessions, but will not be permitted to speak at other times. And please, when you're not speaking, would you mute your microphone to help to eliminate background noise? Thank you very much, everybody. So the first item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies? Mr. Trupping?
No apologies, Madam Mayor. Sorry, I muted.
Thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest in any item on the agenda? Councillor Bond.
I've got a pecuniary interest in 11G, Lindsell's Crossing. So I will leave the meeting for that when that's discussed.
Thank you very much. Do I have any other interests, either pecuniary or non-pecuniary? No, nobody's indicating. Okay, I'm going to go into Town Mayor's announcements. And I'm delighted to welcome Peter Tarrant to his first meeting as our Town Clerk and Chief Executive. And we very much look forward to a new phase in the life of our council.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. It's also great to see staff being thanked, and we've had a communication as follows. I'm emailing you to express our thanks for what you've done for our daughter and indeed for our family. As you can understand, many young people have been struggling with isolation and motivation as a direct result of the lockdown situation. Since being awarded an allotment, working outdoors and having a goal has brought our daughter enormous satisfaction and a huge sense of achievement, and it has brought us together as a family. In addition, my daughter now has a superb portfolio to present for her degree course in agriculture and land management. We can only hope that more young people can be made aware of the provision of the allotments because it's such a healthy and fulfilling hobby. My husband and I wish to express our sincere thanks and gratitude to everyone in the allotment team. So thank you very much. That's great. My next announcement is that last Tuesday, the 18th, I was invited to speak to the Rotary Club of Biggleswade. Last year, I spoke to them about the Town Council and how it works. And I also invited them, amongst many other groups in Biggleswade, to complete the Royal College of Arts survey to support the study on future transport. This year, Rotary asked for an update on all the things that are happening in Biggleswade, housing developments, the HIF, station access, and more. During questions, a Rotarian asked how the club could be involved and how it could help. My reply was to say that it would be great if someone would join the neighbourhood plan group. There was an immediate volunteer, and I'm pleased to say that Barbara Hazel is now a member of the neighbourhood plan group. This year is the 20th anniversary of the twinning of Biggleswade with Erlensay, and a party from Erlensay were due to visit us in July. Since this was unable to go ahead, our Twinning Association organised a Zoom event last Saturday, 22nd of August, with those involved in twinning from both towns. Bernard Briers and Manfred Heller, the respective mayors who signed the twinning agreement, spoke first with their memories over the years. Later, I was asked to say a few words as the current mayor, which included greetings from Biggleswade Town Council to their mayor, Stefan Erb, and everyone else in Erlensay, and I managed it in both English and German. It was an interesting session with many recollections of successful visits to each other's towns. Thank you very much. I'm now moving on to public open session. Now, attendees, we have 4. If any of the attendees wish to speak, would you please indicate with your electronic hand, because we can't see you, although you can see us as councillors. And the normal procedure applies that you can put questions or address the council pertaining to matters listed on the agenda at this point. Each speaker allowed 1 3-minute slot and giving a 30-second warning. towards the end. Does anybody wish to speak, please? Mr. Philp, Richard Philp. Can you unmute? Yeah, hello, Richard, can you speak, please?
Yeah, sure. I want to talk about Linsell's Crossing, which is item 11G. Just provide a little bit of history. In July 2014, Network Rail held a series of consultations covering the closure of several local crossings. And it was proposed that Linsell's be closed and replaced through the Bridleway Bridge, either 100 metres south or 60 metres north. This was on a Network Rail document, and I've got the number here. In June 2015, Network Rail issued the results of their feasibility study entitled, "You Said, We Listened." This stated that there was a clear preference for the Bridleway Bridge to be north of the present crossing. If we move forward then 4 years, 10th of September last year, there was an information event at which it emerged that the preferred option was a bridge suddenly 385 metres north. At this event, there was a strong public opinion that the bridge was in the wrong place and would cause most users a detour of well over half a mile. The Network Rail representative clearly stated that they had no preference where it went since they would be gaining access for Hall Road. This also causes many footpaths and bridleways to be moved in order to access the bridge. The proposal to make the remains of footpath 19 a permissive path will put the only realistic access to the common from the west of Biggleswade, namely Fairfield Estate, at the whim of the landowner. Proposed bridleways are also running alongside the main East Coast Railway, in spite of the Horse Society's warning that this will stress the horses. The position of this bridge seems to be purely for the benefit of the landowner, taking no account of the public. His claim that it would detract from the appearance of his Grade 2 listed house takes no account of the fact that it would be hidden behind woodland. His planning application, thrice rejected, to build a house in the grounds of Fairfield Cottage.
Can you stick to the topic, please, of Linsell's Crossing, Mr. Philp?
This is all part of it. So these whole things seems to be around the benefit of the landowner more than anybody else. And also, I would say...
30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you. I would just say, I urge you to make every effort to have this bridge sited significantly closer to the present crossing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Philp. I also have Councillor Whitaker who wishes to speak. Councillor Whitaker.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, thank you.
I just wanted to make you aware of some issues around item 11B, the allotment access. So this track leading up to Kent Farm was owned by Central Beds and is still owned by Central Beds Council, not by Taylor Wimpey. And I know this because I've had to have some scrub clear from there in the last few weeks and had to go through assets to find that out. So the track itself is still owned by Central Beds and not by Taylor Wimpey. So obviously residents were very concerned that they are no longer able to get down this track to walk their animals. It's a very frequently used piece of land. And so I can understand their concerns. It is not a right of way. However, it also doesn't belong to Taylor Wimpey. So I've been liaising very closely with Central Beds Council since last week when some issues were raised about the lack of access down this track. We are still trying to work out what rights were given to Taylor Wimpey with regard to putting a gate or stopping access to this piece of land. Because as I say, they do not own it, but they will have been given rights as part of the purchase of adjacent land. That is still ongoing. I still don't know the outcome of that. But I just thought you would like to be aware.
Okay, so you're still trying to find out the position on that?
Absolutely, it definitely is Central Beds land. It isn't a right of way, that's also very clear. However, it's also not clear what rights Taylor Wimpey have to close up this land.
Okay, thank you for that. Does anybody else wish to speak? nobody else is indicating to speak, so I'm going to move on the agenda. So we haven't got an invited speaker, so I'm now on members' questions. Do any members have questions, please? I'm not getting any indication, so I'm moving on to the minutes of the meeting of the 11th of August, and I'm going through them first, please, for accuracy. Anything on page 1? Page 2? Page 3? Page 4? Page 5? Page 6? Councillor Mark Foster, page 6. We can't hear you, Mark, are you?
I think I've lost my where I am in the agenda. But in terms of the issue, it was a spelling error in relation to one of the names that we put forward. At least I think it is a spelling error. I think we'd spelt out cardamom rather than cardamom.
Madam Mayor, Madam Mayor, can I come in on this one, if I may?
Yes.
I'm not sure, so.
I actually checked the website this afternoon. The correct spelling, according to the dictionary, is cardamom, but cardamom with an N is also used as an alternative. So what we have put in the minutes, can you hear me? What we have put in the minutes is in fact the correct spelling as per the dictionary, but I can say that what Councillor Foster is proposing is actually an alternative. But I have actually communicated cardamom to the local authority on the grounds that that is the correct spelling, but either is both of those is actually in use.
Councillor Foster, do you wish to say anything else?
No, I'm not pedantic.
Okay, thank you. So I was on page 6. Is there anything on page 6? Page 7? Page 8? And page 9. Okay, so can I have a proposal, please, to accept these minutes?
Move that we accept them.
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Grant Fage.
Sorry, I was just saying move that we accept these minutes.
Thank you. All those in favour? Okay, thank you very much. So I'm moving on to matters arising from that set of minutes. So I'll start again with page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. Councillor Knight, and then Councillor Pullinger. Councillor Knight first, page 4.
Thank you. Could I request an update on item 8C, please, the parking orders, either from the presiding officer or perhaps Councillor Bond?
Councillor Bond, do you wish to say something?
Yes, I've been trying to get an answer for this, but Councillor Ian Delgado was meeting Marcel Coiffier today, and I asked him to address this. Still haven't had a reply back yet, but I can guarantee colleagues that we'll actually have an answer by next council meeting. So I haven't forgotten about it. I'm pushing it as hard as I can.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then Councillor Pullinger.
Thank you. Mine's page 4, item 8B, the Orchard Centre. So I understand from correspondence that I've been copied in on between a regular hire of the hall and the office that the plan is to reopen the Orchard Centre next Tuesday on the 1st of September. Could the presiding officer confirm that that's the case and that there will be proactive communications to all of the existing regular hirers as well as suitable announcements via our social media, please?
Mr. Troppin?
I'm now the presiding officer. Okay, I thought I was the assistant clerk, but never mind.
Well, it's the same thing. I think we're allowing our new town clerk to be an observer tonight.
That's all right. It's just that I was wondering who the presiding officer was.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. I have to confess, complete lack of knowledge on this subject altogether, because I certainly have not been informed of, an opening date. I will look into this and confirm back to councillors, and it would be great if we could be opening them, but I haven't had a further update since the floor has been put down.
Okay. Well, as I say, I received this, for your information then, I received this email from one of the members of staff to this regular hire today, basically saying it's reopening on the 1st of September, and does he want to keep his regular scheduled booking for the 4th of September. So that, as I say, that's the information I had on an email today. So
could I ask Madam Mayor, through you, if Councillor Pullinger could copy that into me, please?
Yeah, I will do.
Thank you.
We need obviously to be absolutely sure that we've got the right procedures in place before we open the Orchard Centre. And as Councillor Pullinger has said, we do need to announce it properly. It doesn't need to be done piecemeal. Do you wish to say anything else, Mr. Droppin, on that?
No, I have excuse me, I have no further update. I've not been given any further information since the floor has been put down.
And we need confirmation that the repair has been successful, don't we? And that the floor can be used. Didn't our Clarton wish to say something? Were you indicating?
Yeah, I was, Madam Chair. I just wanted to make sure, could you also copy me into that email trail, please?
Yeah, will do.
And I will pick it up with our colleague tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Okay, that was page 4. Anything else on page 4 as matters arising? Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Or page 9. I'm not getting any further indications, so we've completed matters arising. We have 3 planning applications in front of us tonight, and the first one is 48 to 54 Lawrence Road, a new bungalow with access, parking and garden. Do I have any comments, colleagues? Councillor Foster, and then Councillor Leslie Page. Councillor Foster, we can't hear you.
I beg your pardon. We've had this in front of us before for a house. This is a completely new replan. It seems as though the person looking at this has gone through all of the necessary procedures with central beds. I think it looks pretty good, and I think we should pass it without objection.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Pullinger, thank you. Councillor Leslie Page.
I've been...
Sorry, you're breaking up. Can you start again?
I've spoken to a few of the residents, and
yes,
who the land backs onto.
Yes.
To get clarity. I spoke to you with it. The planning permission on the lamppost is an old planning permission. They feel the pictures on the site, it shows it's blank and that it's flat. The land is not flat, it's very overgrown. It's quite a wild meadow at the moment. The access has not improved. They say it's wide enough with 1.4 metres, but some of that is a path, a concrete path, which the residents have a right to access the back of their properties and have a right to put their dustbins out. All the lorries going up there to construct it and remove the waste is going to block their cars. The access onto Lawrence Road is still bad, and the houses, the terrace houses opposite, have not been told about the planning permission, and they often park their cars there. So something has to be done with the cars. And I do wonder whether the road is heavy and strong enough to carry lorries that are 7.5 tonnes. So there are quite a few discrepancies with it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Grant-Page.
Yes, we objected before for similar reasons, recognising that the application is a different one and it is a different kind of property that they're looking to build. The same reservations exist now, in my view, as they did several months ago when we saw this planning application. There are still problems with the narrowness of that access. There are still problems in that Lawrence Road is a road which carries probably too much traffic for its size. There are issues when you turn out of that mini junction that cars park on both sides of the road and you have traffic coming from both directions. And then add on top of that the challenges and the disruption that this will cause for residents when just constructing this premises in the location that it's in. So I would be minded to object. I recognise we've had a proposal and that it's been seconded, but if that falls, I will plan to make that proposal objecting on those grounds.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak on this? No. So the proposal in front of us is no objection with the usual subject to neighbours. Can I have all those in favour of no objection showing, please? That's 4. Those against, no objection. That's 7, I think. Yes, 7. So the proposal of no objection falls. So I can go back to Councillor Grant-Page.
I'd wish to propose that we object to this planning application on the grounds of very poor access to this property off of a road which carries a lot of traffic, has parking on both sides, which massively restricts visibility when turning into and out of the property, basically up the driveway, and also raise serious concerns over how it will be constructed, given that the road is probably not fit to carry vehicles of the kind of size that you would need in order to build a residential property. So I'd like to object on those grounds. Happy to hear any amendments.
I've got Councillor Ramsey indicating, but first of all, do I have a seconder for that proposal?
Yeah, I'll second that, please.
Thank you. So Councillor Ramsey and then Councillor Leslie Page.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to pick up on Councillor Leslie Page's comments. Am I to understand that where they have this strip of concrete, is that anybody's right of way that they are taking in and using it as their own driveway? You said they put their bins and things out on it. Actually, where this concrete strip is, have these people just taken it over and taken it for granted, or is it actually a right of way for somebody else? Do you know? I can't.
Yes, I do know. It is a right of way for those 4 houses to access their back garden, and they all bring their bin out on a Thursday.
So this new property is taking that right of way in as if it was their piece of land?
No, they're not. But what they have done in their spec is to accommodate for it as part of the drive in and pass up to the bungalow. So when they say they have 4.1 metres to drive a lorry in, they haven't taken into the 75 centimetres of the path, and the fact that the other side of the building it's quite crumbly, the other side. So wall to wall, they're probably right with their measurements. Floor to floor across the bottom, they're not correct.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Foster, Frank Foster, sorry.
Yes, the Highways Department have been involved with all of this. The access is on the notes as a shared access. It's quite clear that is the case. And there is a parking space for all of the houses. That is also within the notes. The notes are quite comprehensive. I think they've done a very good job on it, but obviously I have to accept the fact you wish to object, but it is a shared driveway and it's clearly shown as a shared driveway.
Thank you. Any further comments, please? So I'm now taking the proposal to object on the grounds of poor access and the lack of capacity on the road, and also raising the issue of construction lorries and the right of way access for 4 houses. All those in favour of objecting on those grounds, please. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those against, please. 2, 3. So that's 8 to 3. So we will object on the grounds that we talked about. Okay, 1 Jasmine Close, loft extension with raised roof height. Any comments, please, colleagues? No? Subject to neighbours?
Yeah, subject to neighbours.
Everybody happy with that? Please show if you're not. Okay, thank you very much. And then phase 6B, Stratton Business Park. Something that's been to council before. Erection of 4 B8 use distribution units. Comments, please, colleagues. No? Councillor Grant-Fage?
A bit of a job to tell what's changed, to be honest, but I noticed that our original comments were included on the planning portal for central beds, which was useful. So maybe we just refer back to our original comments and raise no objection.
So no objection, but refer to our original comments.
Yeah, because there was stuff in there around, we want to know where the Section 106 money is going from these commercial units in particular. So we can refer back to that.
Okay. All those in favour of no objection, but referring to our original comments, please show. I think that's everybody. Okay, thank you very much. So I'm now moving on to the accounts, and Councillor Ramsey, would you like to introduce this, please?
Yes, you have seen the papers for the accounts, and I would like to recommend that members receive and adopt the following accounts. I'd like to do them all in one. The detailed balance sheet to the 31st of July, the summary income and expenditure by committee heading 31st of July, and the detailed income and expenditure by committee headed 31st of July. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder for that, please? Thank you, Councillor Pullinger. Are there any comments on the accounts? No? All those in favour of receiving and adopting, please. I think that's unanimous again. Thank you very much. So I'm now moving on to items for consideration and the schedule of committee meetings. So do I have comments on the schedule of committee meetings? She says, looking for her copy of the schedule. Fine. Do I have any comments from councillors? Before I ask if you are happy with the schedule, the schedule shows neighbourhood plan meetings, neighbourhood plan group. Now that we have the more regular meetings of the Development Management Committee at Central Bedfordshire, it became obvious that the meetings that we were having were clashing with DMC meetings, which is obviously not a good thing considering we're both involved with planning. So we've discussed it as a neighbourhood plan group, and we have decided that instead of meeting every other Wednesday, we would like to meet on the first and third Wednesdays of the month, except that in September, because the first Wednesday in September is the 2nd, that still would clash with development management. So what we would like to do is to have our meeting on the 2nd of September and then go to the new routine. So the next meeting would be the 23rd of September, 3 weeks later. And then the 1st and 3rd up until Christmas. We don't have the Development Management Committee meetings after that. And this schedule doesn't go beyond December anyway. So I would like to ask Council to agree with the Neighbourhood Planning Committee that those dates are okay, and that the schedule is changed, recirculated to councillors and put appropriately on our website and on SharePoint. Can I ask if there are any objections? Councillor Foster. Frank Foster.
No objection. With regard to the schedule, I see it's really just a continuation of the schedule that's been posted for some time. And I see that there are 4 meetings for all committees up until the end of this, which in the circumstances, bearing in mind there have been no committee meetings, it's fine. And I see that we haven't got any programme for future meetings, but I presume that we have time for that now that we have our new town clerk on board, and I look forward to getting the list together, programme together in due course.
Thank you for that.
And I suggest we accept this.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. And we should also note, of course, that we do have now dates for the annual assembly and for the annual statutory meeting, so that we've got those well in advance, end of April and beginning of May. Councillor Woodhead, please.
Yes, just two very quick points. Firstly, if colleagues agree, I'd like to add a personnel meeting in probably the end of September. I think something like the 29th looks like a free date at the moment, just to sort of wrap some things up in terms of going through with our new town clerk and so on. There's quite a bit of issues and some residual issues probably to discuss and wrap up then. And secondly, there is obviously a personnel committee schedule on the 12th of November. I notice it's a daytime one at the moment. I'd be minded to move that to an evening unless there's any particular objections from people or there's a particular reason, but I think that does make it again consistent unless there's a sort of valid reason why we might want to have it in the day. But they would be my only 2 suggestions.
So it's a proposal for...
Sorry, proposal, my apologies, yeah.
For Personnel Committee on the 29th of September.
Evening, an evening one, yeah, 7 o'clock. Yeah.
And the 12th of November, both at 7 o'clock.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Any comments on that, please? Okay, so we've got those 2 changes to what's in front of us.
Madam Mayor, you did have Councillor Foster indicating.
Just happy to second that. That was all.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a joint proposal to accept what's... Sorry, I've got Councillor Pullinger indicating now. Go on, Councillor.
Sorry, just one point around the personnel meeting on the 12th of November. That, I believe, being a daytime meeting, is actually a Thursday rather than a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Would we want to move it to the 3rd of November to make it on a Tuesday evening? That was the only thought.
I don't know offhand. Is the 29th of September a Tuesday?
Yeah, the 29th is, yeah.
Okay. So, Councillor Woodhead, what would you like to do as Chairman of Personnel?
Well, I mean, I'm happy to have it on the 3rd of November. If what I don't know at the moment, and maybe the assistant clerk may be able to help with this, quite where we're looking at in terms of the timescale of obviously staff reviews and staff personnel, you know, the sort of review programs, and also how it fits in with the budgetary cycle. And I'm not clear exactly what the dates are, whether the 3rd is too early or in fact the 12th is too late. So I haven't quite got a handle on that. So if other colleagues are able to sort of assist with that, that would be great. But otherwise, I'm happy to go with the 3rd on a Tuesday evening to make it consistent. So I really don't mind.
If I may, Madam Mayor, yes?
Yes.
The November cycle is really the budget cycle. I think you can shuffle the cards here, and I don't think it matters terribly well which order it all goes in. But what I would suggest that normally the staffing reviews would be taking place within the next month, normally during September, and therefore any recommendations or proposals would be in time for a meeting on the 3rd of November. And then we go through the various other committees, which then go through, as you can see, into December for the PLOS meeting, and that then allows you to inform the cycle in January, which is in fact the final budget setting and precept setting cycle of meetings, so that you're prepared to present the precept request to central beds in time for them to sort out their council tax bills, which I believe go out sort of shortly afterwards in time for collection from the 1st of April.
Okay.
Yes, we're used as a council to having our budgets, our precept setting meeting as the second meeting in January. So that would be the fourth week of January normally, and that's always fitted in all right with Central Bedfordshire. I've got Councillor Mark Foster wanting to speak, please.
It's just really a following on from changing the personnel meeting from a daytime meeting to evening meetings. I think we just need to be clear on whether we're doing this as a one-off, or our intention is to build that into our programme going forward, so that all of the personnel meetings are in the evening. That is a bit of a change to what we've done historically. I think we all know the sort of history behind that. It has been on Tuesdays and it's been on Thursdays, but they've generally been in the daytime. I think we just need to make sure we're clear what we're doing, and if it is an evening, then we need to build that into the clerking of those meetings and the additional resource required, maybe.
Okay. Thank you. The proposal that we've got is for both of those meetings to be at 7 o'clock, and we will come back to a schedule for future meetings. But I think since our previous practice, we have more councillors who work in the daytime, so it may be necessary to have the meetings in the evening in the future.
Yeah.
So trying to pull this together, we have the schedule in front of us. Which we've got a proposal to accept, but we've got two alterations. First of all, the alterations to the neighbourhood plan group meetings, which are 9 o'clock on a Wednesday morning, so they don't require evening attendance. And the group itself is happy with that. And then we have the proposal that we now have personnel meetings on the 29th of September and the 3rd of November at 7 p.m. All those in favour of the schedule with those amendments, please. Yes? Yes, I think everybody's agreeing with that, so that's fine. So,
Madam Mayor, sorry, just before we wrap that up, I would just like to make a point about the just the schedule of the meetings. I'd be happy to raise that at the next personnel meeting as well, to sound out colleagues' opinions on that as well. And obviously I can then speak to the town clerk going forward about staffing and whatever. But I think Councillor Foster's right. I think we should probably maybe not make a permanent decision on it just yet, but I accept those two meetings as we've just discussed as evening ones, and then we will discuss this going forward as to whether we want to do that continuous as an evening one, or maybe look at changing the dates or something. But I'm happy to put that on the agenda for a future meeting. So just to reiterate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I think we've done 11A, schedule of committee meetings. We now have the allotment access issue. Do I have comments on this or a proposal on this? Having heard what's been said and with the information in front of us. Councillor Fage, please, Grant Fage.
It sounds as though it's a little bit tricky. If it were, I know it feels like a public right of way down there. It feels like it should be a bridle way, but it isn't. I mean, given what Councillor Whitaker said early on, I don't see any reason why we can't certainly raise this with central beds. We know this is a popular route for walkers to go out, explore our countryside, etc. So I think it would be, you know, fitting to at least write to central beds to ask a couple of things. Firstly, are there any ways in which we could keep this open and keep some kind of public access through there? Secondly, if the answer to that is no, and definitely no, let's get a timescale for this, because we can't have this shut for 2 years while they build those blasted Taylor Wimpey homes that no one wants. So sorry, we don't. Maybe that's my proposal, but put ever so slightly more diplomatically. Happy to hear what other colleagues think, though. It sounds as though we're in a bit of a sticky situation, but ask central beds whether they can explore other options. If that is completely off the table, timeline.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that proposal, please? Yes, I have several people prepared to second. Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Strawn, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think one of the things that we could point to the council is the fact that the route has no doubt been used for a number of years by the public, and it may have obtained a prescriptive right for having used it as of right without any objections.
Thank you.
Could I Could I just ask a question through Councillor, through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Strawn? Is there any indication about how many years the right of, or say it's permissive, or the path that's actually been used? Because obviously that is there may be a case to have it adopted, but it does depends how many years, and I don't know how many years of continuous usage there has been.
Easements of right of way can be obtained over a period of years. I can't remember whether it's 20 or 30 in this case, but I think it can be if it's used for a continuous period by people treating it as of right without consent.
All I'm asking, Madam Mayor, is that we may have to find evidence of that from people who would have a recollection that that has been the case. And if there is a recollection of somebody, you know, who is perhaps 50 years old now, who said they cycled along there as a child, that would give you some evidence. But it may be that at the moment, and with respect, we are actually looking at hearsay, anecdotal. Yes, it's always been used. I'm just really arguing that that is not, or putting to you that it's not really sufficient to create an objection to a stopping up, because there's no evidence from people who have been users that they have been users, and a statement to that effect would be really helpful, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So the proposal at the moment is to ask Central Beds if it can be kept open, and if it can't be, for the time scale that it will be closed. So the implication of that is that it will only be closed temporarily. Something that's just been said is it indicates that it might be being closed permanently. Councillor Knight?
Just a very direct question. So from the agenda, it looks like it's Taylor Wimpey that are asking to restrict access. And if the land is owned by CBC, a direct question to CBC is, have Taylor Wimpey got permission to restrict access? Do they have explicit or implicit permission anyway, or is that something that CBC would have to grant, and have they granted it?
Councillor Fage, are you happy to add that to your proposal?
Yes, please do. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
So the proposal is that we ask Central Beds if it can be kept open, and if not, the timescales that it will be closed. And the added question is, how has Taylor Wimpey got permission for this? Did Central Beds have to give permission, or what has happened? Because it's unclear from the information that we've got. So all those in favour of approaching Central Beds on those lines? I think that's unanimous again. Thank you very much. And then we have the pedestrian crossing at Potten Road, and concerned residents talking about the issues of children crossing there and parents dropping children off for Edward Peak School. The information I think I have is that the temporary crossing was removed, but a crossing will be reinstated by the beginning of term, and that Central Beds intend to monitor what is going on once the crossing is in place, to see if any further issues, any further measures need to be taken. So I think it would be right that we pass on residents' concerns to Central Bedfordshire, but my own information is that this will take care of itself to a certain extent. Councillor Pullinger, you wish to speak.
Thank you. Yeah, so I was going to say, obviously there was the temporary crossing there for the last 2 weeks of term in the last academic year. I wasn't aware that it was definitely coming back. So if it is, that is good news, but maybe it would be worth us essentially writing to Central Beds to ask and confirm that that will be the case, and also to express the concerns of regarding the end of Stratton Way and Nursery Close. It is true that the car wash there does use routinely the nursery close. In fact, if someone leaves their car there to be washed, once they've washed it, they'll park it on nursery close rather than leaving it on their own site. So they do cause quite a lot of congestion of vehicles on the end of nursery close, and it does affect visibility. So I think we should definitely pass on these concerns, and I think we should ask Central Beds to confirm whether the temporary crossing will be put back before the start of term next in a week or so's time. They're not going to have a permanent one in that time frame, are they? So.
But also, I think that they will monitor the situation and see what happens at those junctions. Can we add that to what you're proposing?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak on that? Councillor Bond, please.
Thank you. The proposal for the crossing was actually at traffic management in March. I'll actually ask Highways and come back with an update for council by next meeting.
Thank you, but we still need to write formally as a council to Central Bedfordshire in the way that we've discussed. All those in favour of writing to Central Bedfordshire for confirmation of the situation, please. I think that's everybody again. Thank you very much. Now, this is Drove Road Cemetery Wall, not the chapel wall. It's the wall alongside the footpath on Drove Road. I think we have a proposal from the officer involved that he would like the issue to be deferred so that he can present information in a different way. Do I have a proposal that we should defer this to the next meeting? Councillor Foster, sorry.
Yes, I would like to propose that we defer this to the next meeting.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. All those in favour of deferring for further information? Okay, that's unanimous again. Thank you very much. And then we're on to CLG's consultations. We've got in front of us the papers from NALC about the CLG consultation, and NALC are asking us to endorse or otherwise their response. And I think there's also an issue about whether we want to respond as a town council anyway, as well as adding our views to the NALC consultation. What do people think? Councillor Grant-Fage?
We have a bit of time over this. These are very detailed documents. There's a hell of a lot to consider. And I actually think this is really, really important. I don't know about other councillors, but anybody who has sort of read the headlines around this, certainly the headline figures are concerning, and I suspect there'll be some concern in the detail as well. So, I mean, I'd like to propose a very mini working group of us to perhaps get together on Zoom over the next couple of weeks and try to crunch through some of this, which we can bring back to council perhaps at the end of September with, you know, something for council to consider. I mean, I don't think we know until we get into the detail how we'll want to respond and what we'll want to say, and it does have to be signed off by council, but I'd like to propose that mini working group to conduct that, please.
Thank you. Councillor Alban?
Just to second that, that makes a lot of sense to me. It's a very detailed set of questions and quite technical, some of them. So to actually respond to that in this meeting is going to be very, very difficult. So I think that makes perfect sense.
Okay, so people in this group, I have one or two people who have talked to me before, and I know that Councillor Grant-Fage would like to be involved, and I know that Councillor Duncan Strawn and Councillor Ian Bond would both like to be involved. I would like to be involved. Would anybody else like to be involved in that group? Probably 5 of us is enough. Councillor Alban, would you like to be? Yeah, okay. So that's 5 of us. Councillor North, would you like to be involved? It is going to be a lot of detailed work. What I'm going to suggest is that we recirculate the stuff from now, but also we need to download from the government website the original document and have that to look at as well, so that we can understand. And I think that the members of that group will need to look at both documents and make their own notes about the issues that they're concerned about before we have a meeting, because trying to go through it all from the beginning in a meeting, I think is going to be difficult. So if we arrange for the documents to be circulated to those 6 councillors, and then we'll arrange a meeting when people have had a chance to look at it in detail. Is that all right with council? Are we in agreement with that? Yes. Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. Workshop facilities, to consider options for the short term, depending decisions on a permanent solution. Councillor Ramsey, please.
Yes, I'd like to propose that we investigate the availability and cost of leasing a suitable local premises. It's going to be a long-term haul to try and have our own workshop, and in the meantime, the staff desperately need decent facilities and we need somewhere to store all their equipment. So I'm just asking, please, if the council will endorse and say, yes, we are able to investigate the availability and cost of lease of suitable premises. And are you prepared to delegate that to the F&GP committee, or would you rather have councillors doing it from the council?
Do I have a seconder for councillor? Thank you, councillor Pullinger. So that's really 2 parts. Councillor Pullinger, would you like to speak?
Yes, so just on the second point around the delegation to F&GP. So what I would, due to the timing, I think if there is an appropriate F&GP committee meeting that takes place then, and is due to take place, then by all means we should consider delegating it. But actually we're holding full council meetings a lot more frequently, and there is an urgency to this. So actually I think we're probably better to just bring it to full council,
yes,
rather than delegating it.
And in the hope that somebody on the council maybe have some ideas or some information that would be useful to us.
Yeah, but we're asking the officers to do this, aren't we? I've got Councillor Frank Foster, and then Mr. Tarrant wants to come in, and then Councillor North. Councillor Foster.
Is it not the case that the certain premises of this nature, would that not be a responsibility of the officers? Surely not an operational matter of council.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Tarrant, Mr. Clark.
Okay. Even after 2 days, I kind of have a sense of direction on this. I spoke to Bob about this today by coincidence. My sense, and I could be wrong, is that a permanent solution is probably, from a financial perspective, disproportionate in the sense of overall cost. And I've just got that sense, and I need to prove that. I think I'd entirely agree with Councillor Ramsey in the sense that I think that the solution is probably some form of lease, and it needs to be the right premises. And it feels like we need to quickly move on with this. It's been quite a time, but and it's not, the current situation isn't suitable. So my own sense was I kind of feel like it's an officer responsibility to put paper together. My sense, to put a paper of options together that can provide a practical solution as quickly as possible, and then to try and put a paper forward to committee, if members feel that to be appropriate.
Yes, please. Yes.
Councillor North, you wanted to come in. You've muted yourself now. Yes, go on. You should be able to.
Yes, just to say, I'm not sure it should go to the committee. I think it should come to the full council because we meet more frequently, and it just seems more. It would speed the thing up. That's all, because there are more frequent. I don't know when the next F&GP meeting is, but and it's not such a great onerous task, I don't think. Here, I mean, it's a matter of just spending maybe a day or a couple of days searching around, going to the agent, searching around, preparing a report on what's available at what price, and obviously the officers know what is suitable for their purposes and what is not. So it's just a matter of establishing the information, and I don't think it's such a vastly complex issue that it needs to be delayed. I think we can get on with it, even if it is a fairly short term lease, and possibly look at longer term solutions at our leisure. But as people have said, I think there is a need to do something fairly quickly.
Okay, I've got Councillor Ramsey, then Councillor Pullinger.
I have an F&GP meeting planned here on the schedule for the 15th of September. I don't know if that would give people sufficient time. How do you feel about that, Mr. Tarrant?
I think that's sufficient time for us to come up with a paper of some options for you to consider. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Councillor Pullinger.
I don't need to speak anymore.
Okay. Well, let's see what the clerk and the team can come up with. But we are asking them to look at the availability and cost of leasing a local premises for a workshop facility and storage facility for our public realm team.
Yeah.
All those in favour, please. I think that's everybody again. Thank you very much. I'm now moving on to Lindsell's. So can I ask Councillor Bond to leave the meeting, please? Thank you. Right. We have the item on the agenda, but we had a very late communication from Central Beds. Councillor Grant-Page, do you want to speak on this?
Yeah, we've had visibility that this is not the most up-to-date version of this document, and that the consultation is going to be extended slightly. So I'd like to propose that we don't need to respond to this one, and that we bring back to council on the 8th of September that updated document, if we can have it, and we can give it due consideration then and respond in full.
Do I have a second? Yeah, thank you. Did you want to speak, Councillor Pullinger?
I know, just to say that we have had sight of the email from the Rights of Way officer at Central Beds requesting that we consider the new documents, and which we haven't seen yet. So it's only right that we do now defer it, so we do have time to consider it properly.
Thank you very much. All those in favour of deferring? Yes, I think that's unanimous again. Okay, I'm moving on to items for information, but could we let Councillor Bond know that he can come back into the meeting, please?
I've done that.
I'll give him a moment. It's much easier when somebody walks out the council chamber and then can come back in.
Needs to be like a game show with a cubicle and headphones.
He's not coming back in. I'll take the next item, which is an item for information, and see what happens. So the item for information is the appointment of Peter Tarrant as our new town clerk. Is there anything that anybody wishes to say? Or have we said it all in welcoming him? Councillor Fade.
No, just that we minute, and just that we minute the welcoming of our new town clerk and chief executive, Peter Tarrant.
Everybody happy with that?
Yes.
Okay, welcome back, Councillor Bond. We've just welcomed Peter Tarrant as our new town clerk, so I'm moving on to item for information 12B, which is the crime statistics, which are still in the format that we keep saying isn't terribly useful. But Councillor Strawn, do you have anything to say on the crime statistics, please?
The same issues applies a month or so ago when we commented. I am concerned at the number of assaults that have been reported, also harassment, sexual and offences against the person. We did get a response from the inspector locally. He couldn't explain the increases, but they're keeping an eye on them, and they have regular meetings when they consult. But I would suggest I go back and say we're concerned that the trends are continuing, and see what he's got to say.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any comments? Councillor Pullinger?
Just in reference to the format of the data, I think we commented at the last time we had this presented that there are a number of councillors who I know have the requisite skills to transform the data into sort of a usable format. I'm sure I would offer to do it. I'm sure Councillor Knight would as well, if we can get access to the raw data. That might provide more use to councillors, or indeed Mr. Tarrant, our new clerk, may be willing and able to do it himself, or find a member of staff who's able to do that for us.
Okay, I've got Councillor Strawn, and then I'll come to Mr. Tarrant, and then Councillor Knight. Councillor Strawn.
Yes, the inspector did come back to me on this, and he's asking PCA and Howarth to consider how best to present long-term figures for a fuller understanding. But I think it would be helpful if we could go back with a constructive suggestion as to how we might assist.
Thank you. So, Mr. Tarrant.
Yeah, all I would say is that I feel confident that officers are able to manipulate the data in any way that you see fit. So we're more than happy. I'm sure we've got the right competencies to do that. So very happy to have a go at that and give you something that is more easy to understand, if that would help.
Yes, it's easy to understand, but also to compare over time is one of the issues, isn't it? Councillor Knight, Councillor Foster, Councillor Woodhead.
Thanks. Just to add to that, so I think in July, Councillor Strawn was able to share the Excel file directly from the police, which was far more useful than the format we're getting it in tonight's papers. And yeah, absolutely, it's essential that we capture the trends. Now, whether we do that from the monthly report from the police, which we then extrapolate and extend, or whether we get a more useful report directly from the police, but certainly the current format we've had the last couple of months really isn't acceptable.
Thank you. Councillor Frank Foster, and then Councillor Woodhead.
I'm very pleased to hear what our new town clerk has said, that his office will deal with these statistics. I feel this is an officer responsibility and shouldn't be delegated to one of our councillors. That's my view. I think it is something that should be dealt with by the officers.
Yes, and I'm sure one or two councillors who have particular expertise, though, would be on hand if necessary. Councillor Woodhead.
It's just an observation, really, but it may be a question for Councillor Strawn, whether he can go back to the police and ask for a comparison from last year, because I wonder if perhaps some of these offences are perhaps connected with, you know, the lockdown and sort of COVID pressures that the public feel they're under, and you know, the particular environment's obviously very different from, you know, last July. And it'd just been interesting to see if there's any particular you know, very strange trends or very odd activity that maybe we can be attributed to that, rather than you know, sort of normal criminal behaviour, if you see what I mean.
Thank you. Councillor Ramsey.
Yes, I agree with that. Traditionally, there has been a peak in certain crimes during the school holidays, but of course COVID has extended that to a very long school holiday. But it would be useful to try and compare it with, say, this time last year or the year before, to get some sort of grip on when we can expect them to peak. Thank you.
Councillor Strawn.
I agree with that, but I think I believe that COVID-19 has got an influence on some of these offences, because I can never remember having seen figures at this level previous years. But I am meeting with the town clerk next week, and we can put that onto our agenda to discuss the best way of approaching that.
Okay, so I think we have a way forward that everybody's agreed with. And we'll leave it to Councillor Strawn as our police liaison and to our new town clerk to sort out a way forward. Okay, is that okay with everybody? Yeah, okay. So I'm now on to the second public open session, where members of the public can ask questions or make comments on any aspect of the town council's work. Again, 3 minutes for each speaker, and a warning will be given after 2.5 minutes. I have somebody from the Biggleswade Community Safety Group. Would you like to identify yourself, please?
Hi, it's Amanda Cawthorne here from the Community Safety Group.
Yes.
I've got 3 things. I actually originally came with 2, but I've added one extra to the list whilst I was listening to you today. Firstly, after considerable amount of emails going backwards and forth, we've got some good news that the 2 speed indicators on Baden-Powell Road are going to be installed within the next couple of weeks. Our group has been key in driving this forward, and hopefully these will be welcomed by the residents in the area. And it would also give our group better information on when we can go ahead and do regular patrols. We're also going to be trained on how to download the data from these devices so we can give trends for those areas.
Thank you.
Secondly, no doubt you know that on Sunday the 16th, Mulberry Close had suffered flooding. Our group is part of the Bedfordshire Community Resilience Group. So when the residents put up our requests for sandbags, we did what we could to assist. We were provided with the Town Council's resilience plan, which is held by Central Beds emergency team. But unfortunately, it only had the previous clerks listed and very other little information to help us. Therefore, we're asking the Town Council if they could actually look at the resilience plan as a matter of priority, especially through these challenging times. Thankfully, Mulberry Close were provided with the aqua bags in time. Finally,
can I just come in on that, Miss Cawthorne, please?
Okay.
Yes, it is on the agenda for the new town clerk to update all that we need to do. And also we're in touch with Anglian Water through Councillor Bond and others to ensure that the gully that goes out from Mulberry Close is properly cleared, because that's the main problem. So that's what we're doing as a council. We'll make sure the emergency plan is updated and we'll try and get that gully cleared.
Mm-hmm. And if, sorry.
You had a third point?
Yeah, the third point is that we actually, as a group, actually collect all the trend information for the history of crime figures. We can go back several years, and we've got like scatter graphs on each of the actual items and you can see whether it's going up or down. Unfortunately, the police have got a good tendency to keep changing the format every few months, so it takes quite a lot of time to keep remiculating the data to get it into a meaningful format.
So are you saying that this is something you could help the council with?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so could you email our new clerk, Peter, peter.tarrant@biggleswadetown.council.gov.uk.
Okay.
And just let him know how you can help on that one. I'm sure it'll be much appreciated.
Okay, brilliant.
Thank you very much. I now have Councillor Whitaker wanting to speak again, please.
Hello there.
Hello.
Just to come back on the allotment access, just for further information, if councillors go to the Central Beds planning portal and look at the application and look at the rights of way consultation, they will see that this particular track was proposed to be a bridleway, a proposed permissive bridleway. However, it has been agreed that it won't actually be a bridleway, and they've done an alternative rights of way access further to the south of the development. So it was very, very recently, the rights of way have very, very recently been signed off as a reserved matter, just before this issue arose, actually. So I agree that it would be great to have it as a right of way, but I think talking to several officers at Central Beds, I think it's unlikely that they are going to allow it. But at the moment, it's with LGSS to determine what permissions have been granted.
That and LGSS are your legal officers at Central Beds.
But they are currently determining what legal access has been granted to Taylor Wimpey.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I'm not getting in any indications from any other members of the public. So, colleagues, we have no other items on the agenda. So thank you for your attendance tonight, and I declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night, Madeline.
Good night.